Hi, my name is Dr. Erica Jordan, and I'm here at the University of West Florida, where I work in the School of Psychological and Behavioral Sciences. I study parent and child relationships and discipline and punishment practices that parents use with young children. The third point that I have is for you to be consistent but not overwhelming. So definitely, I think anyone would agree that one of the worst things that you can do as a parent is not to provide any sort of discipline at all for a child. Now, however, discipline is teaching. A lot of people use discipline to mean harsh, punitive forms of punishment, but the best forms of discipline that really help children to internalize their standards for proper behavior and to behave appropriately even when you're not looking are strategies that teach. So explaining to the child why we engage in a certain behavior, why it's important to do this, how it makes others feel, or what the consequences are if we do not engage in appropriate behavior. These are forms of teaching. Also, modeling by example the appropriate way to behave. So we know that little eyes are watching you all the time. So that's a way to teach, as opposed to using harsh forms of punishment, which actually cause a lot of negative feelings in the child, which tend to interfere with the learning process. So they can actually inhibit the learning of the proper behavior. But you do want to be consistent in following through with the rules. So for instance, here's an example with an older child. If a child is supposed to go to bed at a certain time, you want to be consistent. Be sure that the child has the homework done, that they've gotten a bath or whatever it is that they need to do before they go to sleep, so that they can consistently follow through and meet that expectation for behaviors. Even with a young child, if you're teaching a child to use good manners at the table, with a preschooler, for instance, you want to be sure that they consistently say please and thank you, or that they consistently sit at the table and don't throw their food and behave appropriately. So you want to provide consistent but supportive reminders and explain, this is why we have this rule, so that the child completely understands it. Having said that, even in your consistency, you don't want to be overwhelming. So still, we want to go back to that first point about age-appropriate expectations. It can be tempting to pounce on the child every time you see them doing anything slightly out of line. But you want to keep in mind the battles that you have chosen for that specific age-appropriate time period. So I hate to use battles, that sounds a little bit more punitive, but keep in mind the lessons that you're trying to teach at that specific time period. And if it's something that really won't make a difference in the long run, you can sort of sit back and maybe allow a natural consequence to occur, or just ignore a behavior, a slightly annoying behavior. This helps to prevent what we call becoming mommy deaf, which you talk so much that as a mommy or a daddy that the child then just learns to tune you out. And so now, even during the very important lessons, they're no longer listening to you. So you definitely want to keep in mind the lessons that you're trying to teach and be consistent in those lessons, but not so overwhelming in teaching that the child just learns to ignore you, or everything tends to wash over. They don't even absorb the important material. And finally, you want to maintain a strong bond, hopefully during infancy. By responding to the child consistently and in a responsive manner, you have developed a strong bond with your child. And this is something that you want to make time to maintain throughout the lifespan of that child, especially during the preschool years, during the middle childhood years, as the child is gradually gaining more independence. You still want to carve out a few minutes each day to spend one-on-one time with that child. This helps you to reconnect, and the stronger your bond is, the more motivated your child will be to take feedback from you and to follow through with the standards for behavior. Because ultimately, if you have a strong connection with that child, 9 times out of 10, they want to please you. So they want to have a harmonious relationship with you. They want everything to be happy. And so they want to please you even as they're growing and gaining more independence. If you maintain that strong bond by spending a few minutes each day, doing things that the child likes to do, discussing the child's day with them, having a back and forth dialogue, then this will really help to nurture that bond and to keep it strong throughout the lifespan. Finally, I'd like to make a bit of a plug for this discipline book. I am not the author of this book, but Dr. William Sears, William and Martha Sears have written this book. It has a lot of practical strategies for parenting children between the ages of birth and 10 years of age. And I've recommended this to several parents. I always get great feedback about this book. They have 8 children of their own, so they definitely have some time-tested strategies in here and some good ideas for parenting your child in very challenging situations. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope that this was helpful.